tasks to the right people. And our speakers are Nikhil Bendre, Brad Campbell, and Kalyan Boba from ServiceNow. Over to you guys.
All right. Welcome, everybody. It's a nice small room today. Anybody have a hard time finding this room? It's kind of hard to find in the back, wasn't it? So I bet we have some people showing up here late. Agenda, we're going to talk about the state of the world before delegated development. We'll talk about what you can do with delegated dev, what you can do with app admin. We'll have a demo, and I'm sure we won't have any questions at the end, so it'll be really fast. But just in case, we got a Q&A spot. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Nikhil Bendre. I'm one of the engineering managers on the platform team here at ServiceNow. Work on scoped apps, delegated dev, obviously, and some of the platform performance and reliability features that we have done so far.
My name is Brad Campbell. I'm an engineering manager at ServiceNow. I've been here about 5 years. Before I worked at ServiceNow, I was a customer. So I liked the product enough. I came to work at ServiceNow to help, help it grow and make things better. So it's been great. Overall, 14 years development experience. So I've been around in the industry for a little while, and here I am.
Hey, Kalyan here. So I've been with ServiceNow for like 6 years, worked in domain suppression, application administration, role management, access controls, a bunch of things, mostly related to security. Yeah, it has been fun. Yeah.
Great. All right, this is the necessary safe harbor slide. We're showing you some features today from London, which is not out yet. So this is just saying you can't run to your sales guy and say that Brad and Nikhil and Kalyan promised you something that you can't get yet. So just keep that in mind as we're going over some features today. And we'll try to call that out as we go, but in case we slip up, here's our safe harbor just in case. All right, today we're going to learn some objectives. We'll learn the basic understanding of delegated development. And we'll review some of the new features that we've introduced since the first release of Delegated Dev, which was Helsinki?
Yeah, those came out.
Helsinki. So we've added some features as we've moved along. You'll learn how to take an existing application from one instance to another instance or from source control, build an app from scratch, and delegate non-admins to that app to do some work in it. And delegate deployment rights for scoped apps, which is a new London feature that we'll talk about. Before we get started, I'd like to get a little show of hands, like who's actually created a scoped app in here? About half. All right. How many ServiceNow developers does everybody have? So less than 5, raise your hand. Most people. More than 10. More than, 20. How many do you have? Close to 50.
Wow.
All right, that's pretty good. So majority of people has about 5 developers, a couple around 10, and then all the way up to 50. All right. Who in here is responsible for moving their updates or their update sets from dev to prod? Wow. Pretty much everybody. All right. And who's already tried to use a delegated development feature? Just one person? 2 people? 2. All right.
All right.
All right. New to most everybody here. All right. Do you want me to go with this one? You want to do it? All right. Before delegated development, or before, for most people in the room, you have not used used delegated development yet. So this is what you're doing today. So only admins are building your apps. You don't really have a way to constrain developers to an individual scoped application. Only administrators can publish, install, or upgrade applications, or publish the update set, export, update set, import, update set. If you've got 50 developers, you probably have a range of skills in there. So you're giving somebody access to as an admin, and they have access to everything. And you probably want to limit them to the skill level or to a specific area so that if they step outside their bounds, they're not messing up your whole instance. Everything's open to customization. It's kind of the same thing. Like there's no way to stop somebody from making changes to instance when they're really working on, HR or change management or problem management. and it's kind of hard to protect sensitive information. Once you're an admin, you've got access to everything. If you've got HR, that's probably a little bit sensitive, and you might not want every admin in your system having access to the data and how, the scripts and everything and how the application is built.
Can I add something here?
Yeah.
Okay. One of the primary reasons for coming up with this feature was also that some of you have smaller teams of ServiceNow developers, and we heard from customers that your application, like business units like HR, finance, they keep requesting enhancements to the applications that you might have built for them. They might have some bugs. You might have a large backlog for feature requests from the other business units, and sometimes when you're triaging your backlog and not everything gets targeted for your upcoming release and everything, and the smaller teams then became a bottleneck for some of the business unit to keep up to date with their applications. So some of the motivation behind these features was to help the central IT teams kind of delegate out some of the development to the business units that they have.
Great. And with that, I'll hand you over to the next slide here.
Oh, okay. Thank you. So with delegated development, what we are trying to do here with scoped apps is basically you can grant special privileges towards certain set of applications. You can allow them to manage files for reporting, service catalog, workflow integrations. You can also you can give a person to be able to manage roles and ACLs, and with addition to that, you can also have an ability to make someone a release manager, like just give them an ability to upgrade an app, install an app, publish it to the application repository, or publish it to the App Store, right? So this is what kind of we try to segregate and kind of give out application feature level permission set to these non-admin developers.
Yep, and as we'll demo, like you can kind of sum it up in one sentence. Delegated development allows non-admins to manage application artifacts for a scoped application. So they don't get the ability, like you can take a user with no roles, give them delegated development for a scoped app. They'll only have access to Studio and the application artifacts for that scoped application without being able to see necessarily anything in global or anything else in another scoped app. So we'll demo that here shortly.
Yeah.
And Callan, you want to talk about app admin?
Sure. So we just spoke about scoped apps. We also spoke about delegated dev. Non-admins able to develop the scoped apps. What if you want to protect some of sensitive data even from an admin user in your organization? Say if you're in a finance department developing a payroll app, you really don't want an admin to have access to your bonus information, your pay information, etc. So you want to take security to the next level. We can make use of this application administration. There are a sequence of steps. You can make your app into an app admin enabled scoped app, and then make your app even more secure. So starting Kingston, so why is this slide in delegated dev? Starting Kingston, we added an ability for an app administration enabled app to be delegated to a different developer who doesn't have an admin role at all. So that's new in Kingston, yeah.
Okay, so it's kind of like delegated dev in reverse, where delegated dev, you're giving a non-admin access to a scoped app. With app admin, you're not letting the admin have access to your scoped app. So it really kind of locks it down more than a traditional app.
Yep.
Delegated deployment is new in London. So in addition to the delegated development features that we're talking about, you can now delegate the publication of an app to your app repo, to the App Store if you publish apps to the App Store, and even to update set. So if you're not a company that takes advantage of the application repo, you can publish the update set, and then you can have that update set installed on another instance. And so that's on the publish side. On the install side, you can grant a role to let a user install apps from your application repository and then upgrade specific apps. So there's kind of a chicken and egg problem there. If you're developing a new app in dev, you can't grant permission to install that app on your next level environment because it doesn't exist there yet. So you would grant the capability to install an application, and then when that user chooses to install a app from app repo, they automatically get the ability to upgrade it. So the idea here is kind of going back to what Nikhil was saying. If you're kind of like a bottleneck for deploy, which a lot of people in the room were, right? You're responsible for clicking that publish button. You're responsible for clicking the install button, getting the feedback when you're allowed to move that to the next level environment. If you want to, you can choose to delegate that permission and let some app team kind of run their whole process from dev to prod, even if you choose, and get you out of the loop altogether. And I think that'd be a good option for some of the smaller apps where they don't have a lot of risk associated with them. You know, if there's not a lot of scripting or a lot of dependencies on external applications or other cross-scope scripting capabilities where it's independent and pretty stable, it's probably a safe thing to do. But it's going to depend on how complicated your environment and what your business processes are for maintaining all those things.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. And with that, we'll jump into a demo.
All right, so I'll try to do this live. Yeah. Okay. All right, so all right, so we have three types of users here today for this demo. I'm Nikhil. I'm going to be the administrator of this particular instance. I've got Kalyan as a delegated developer from one of the finance teams, and I've got Brad as a lead developer who is trying to play the role of being the release manager here, trying to publish the app to the repository. So first of all, I'm going to go to Studio. I am going to import an already created app.
So he's using the source control integration feature, which is available for scoped apps starting in Helsinki. I think it's Helsinki.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just cloned down my application called stock information from GitHub. My repository is out there if you guys want to try it out. But basically, in the scoped app, I have a table called transactions. The purpose of the scoped app was to keep a track of all your stock transactions that for employees within your company. This is, again, a little bit contrived example, so bear with me for this demo. So here we have a company name here. In the table, we have company name as a string here. I have got a user reference here, and then I have a symbol here. So this is the only schema that I have. I am going to go to File and say Manage Developers, and I'm going to give Kalyan integration permissions and allow him scripting also. So what you're seeing in front of you here, the dialog, either you can delegate to users or you can delegate to user groups. You can do either one. these are the file application, file type access that you can do. Right now, we are just going to give him integration. So the thought behind that is Kalyan is going to have outbound REST integration with a stock service, and he's going to write some a web service call, which basically, given a stock symbol, it pulls down the latest stock price for that day. Some of the other types here are reporting, service catalog, workflow is one, tables and forms is another one. I think my mic went. You still have me? Hello?
Yeah, works.
So I'm going to give him the tables and forms access also. What that would allow him would, he would be able to change the list layout, form layout. He would be able to add new fields if he wants to add some new fields for the integration. So I'm going to give him integration, tables and forms. I'm going to say, well, he's a little bit more advanced developer, so let's give him scripting for this particular scope tab. I'm also going to add Brad. I'm going to give him, he's a lead developer, I'm going to give him all file types access. I'm also going to allow him scripting. And I'm going to allow him to publish the app to the repository. Sorry about that.
It's all part of the demo. It's okay.
The perks of doing a live demo. All right, so now I've given Brad all file types access. Going to give him scripting, publish to the application repository. I'm going to save here. Okay, all right. I'm going to log out.
And before you did that, like Kalyan and I had 0 roles, right? Like we were just blank users in the system. We didn't even have admin. We didn't have public. We were just users without any permissions at all.
So I'm going to log in as Kalyan. Kalyan has given his credentials to me, let's just say. And I'm going to, rather than impersonating him, I'm going to sign in as Kalyan. I'm going to open up the studio now. Kalyan is the delegated developer user here, and as you can see, he has access to the stock information app that I just created, or I pulled down from the source control, and he can only see limited set of things here. He can see the table here. Let me pull it up. He can see this table here. He can try to add a new column here. Let's say bid price. Let's say integer. Actually, let me say decimal. Okay. Authorization to release information. I'm going to say, sorry, it's true false, right? Okay. Say true false here. I'm going to update or save this table now. So as a delegated developer, I'm able to add new fields to this table. I'm going to say create application files. As you can see, I have inbound and outbound integration. I'm going to say a REST message here. I'm going to create a new service. I think I already created a service, so let me go back here. So this is the service I created just before coming in here. So I've created an IEX trading service, which is IEX is it's a free web service that provides stock information. You can visit them at iextrading.com, and for legal purposes, I need to show you the disclosures here. This is the endpoint that they have specified, that we have specified here. Takes in a symbol defined by a variable, and it's going to give us the code for that stock for the day. I've got a get service here, and I'm going to pull up the symbol here. I'm going to say, let's see Facebook's stock value today. I'll go back here, make sure Facebook is up in here, and I want to say test. So as you can see, I was able to use or create an existing web service. I'm able to give a different symbol, and this is the response I got from the web service out here. So typical use cases I've heard from a lot of customers is they have a particular integrations that they're trying to do with some ERP system or for some HR system, and they have a separate team who is responsible for doing these types of integrations. So they want to be able to give them these integrations role or integrations access without actually making them admins on the system. So this is a little example of this.
Should we deploy the app?
You want to try to deploy the app?
Yeah, I don't know. Can Kelly deploy? I can't remember. Does he have a publish option?
I don't.
Are you sure?
So, okay, I'm going to log out as Kalyan. I'm going to log back in as Brad. If I open up Studio, Brad has access to the stock information, and since he's our lead developer, he has got access to almost everything within the scoped app. So if he wants, he can try to build more stuff on this app.
I don't. As a lead developer, I don't do any work anymore.
I'm going to go to publish option here, and I'm going to publish it to my application repository with a different version.
And that's pretty much it. The publish dialog is the same. If you had publish to store, publish to app repo, you'd get the option at the top. If you only got one, you only see the one that you're able to do. And from there, the processes are the same after it gets to the app repo.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We are having some difficulty publishing this particular application, to be honest here, because I developed it on a separate instance and I pushed it to GitHub, and I'm pulling it down, and my vendor prefix is not matching, so it says that, oh, yeah, as if I'm trying to publish it to a repository which I don't have access to. But if you actually try it on your local or your developer instance, it should work.
It will work. Have some faith. Of course it'll work. It's just the demo that doesn't work. It's okay.
Yeah, just being honest here. All right, so this was Brad's role. I'm going to log out and hand it over to Kalyan to show you and talk a little bit about application administration and kind of how that feels as an app admin.
Nikhil, I need to borrow your credentials.
All right. Oh, yeah, sorry.
So I'm going to log in as Nikhil since he has the admin role. So what I'm going to talk about is what are the steps needed to make this stock information app into app administration enabled app. Remember, I talked about making it more secure. We want to set up in such a way that even Nikhil does not have access to any of these artifacts in stock information. So these are the steps that you need to do. First thing I'm going to do is, let's see all the roles that are part of this application. I'm going to hit the settings icon and add application and application administrator. These two fields are part of the role. Helps you see where the role is coming from. So if I look at stock information, there's only one role. There is this flag called application administrator. So we need a special role to make this app as application admin enabled. So let's call this app admin. And we want to enable this. So this role is called application administration enabled role. It's a special role. First you create that, and then let's open this role. I have added a users related list to this form. Now let's give this to Nikhil. Let's give this to myself. Let's give this to Brad. Okay, all three of us. Okay, so Nikhil has this role, but it's still not in the session. So I'll have to log out and log back in.
Would you say that's a good practice if you're adding or removing roles from yourself, log out, log back in? It's in general, it's not specific to this, right?
It's in general. When you add a role to any user, you don't get it immediately. That particular user should log out and log back in. Yeah. So this is the stock information app Nikhil has created. Our goal is to enable application administration. In order to do that, I needed to create the role, enable that flag on the role, add it to Nikhil, who is an admin, log out, log back in, check this box, and save it. Yep, so let me go back there. So now this is app admin enabled. Okay, and if you look at the developers, Brad is still the lead developer, has full access. I have some of the access, table, form, integration, scripting, right? So let's remove this role from Nikhil. Let's do that. He no longer needs that. So the only reason I've added that app admin role to Nikhil is to help set up this application. And done. Nikhil no longer has access to the app. So I'm going to log in. Yep. So I have all these REST services. I can do some editing, do some development, edit forms, tables, and whatnot. So I can run this REST service. All of this without having admin role. Okay. Now let's see what access Nikhil has. Here's the studio, stock information. So it shows you some metadata, but he won't be able to see the actual fields on the table. No definition information, nothing. He doesn't have access to any of the artifacts of the app. So that's Nikhil. And let's see what Brad is. Yeah, so Brad is going to have pretty much the same access he had before. Stock information. Yep. So he has all this access. He has access to publish and whatnot. So as you can see, yeah, that's how you set up application administration, and you can set up delegated development even for these kind of apps. Yeah, that's it.
So we got a few steps in there. It's a little bit not as straightforward as delegated dev, but
Yeah.
it's
It is meant to be complicated.
a little bit harder on purpose because it's not
Yeah.
something that you necessarily want to do too easy because you're locking admin out of doing something. So,
Yeah.
all right, the top takeaways. So, basically you want to empower your business users by delegating rights to scoped apps for non-admins. Kind of demoed that, talked about some use cases for that. You can subdivide that into file types, access controls, or deployment, and you can let people deploy as they need to. We've got some time left, so we'll open up to Q&A if anybody has any. And anything scoped apps, delegated dev, we're happy to help. I think we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a real quick question. When you were going to do the demo, why weren't you impersonating? Just to be sure that.
Oh, so application administration is supposed to be really secure data, payroll information or whatever. You really don't want any other admin to impersonate a user who has app admin. So be carefully, when you impersonate a user who has app admin role, we remove that particular role so that he doesn't have access to all this information, right? So it's still great.
Any other questions? Yeah. I only heard half of that. Here, you want to take the mic over?
I want to know, is there a way like we can have backward compatibility of the existing custom applications? Because like, as you said, it's mostly going to work for the scoped ones. So how is any type of solutions we're expecting, like because most of the companies as of now is pretty big right now. So we have a lot of custom applications and we want to restrict that. That's more sensitive because new applications we can manage, but the old ones we still have to restrict from the new developers coming in. So is there a way we can do that?
Yeah, so
Official.
so I heard that as, can I, once I upgrade to a version that allows me to do delegated development, can I enable that for the apps I've already created? For scoped apps, yes.
Non-scope. Non-scope.
Non-scoped, so global apps, the answer is no.
Okay.
Yeah, for,
There, like, scope that came like a few years back. Before that, we have a lot of non-scope applications.
okay, yeah. Yep, there are, the longer you've been with ServiceNow, the more likely you are to have customizations in the global scope, because that's the only thing you had to begin with. Yeah, there are a couple of scoped app features that are not available to global apps, including delegated development, source control integration, and used to be published to app repo, but in London, we've enhanced the global app capabilities. So you can create global apps by default now. So you can go to Studio, new application, start from global is at the bottom. And we've enabled global apps to be published to the application repo, which means they're available for only deployment on your instances, but not to the store. So we've taken a couple steps, and we're looking at ways to help bring some of the scoped app features up to global. I think ServiceNow had the hopes and dreams that everybody would migrate to a scoped apps, but we've heard the feedback like, no, we're still in global, and until ServiceNow ships everything in the scoped app, which we're not likely to do anytime soon, you're not likely to switch to scoped apps for all your ITSM changes and stuff too. So. And are they, like in your example, that would be a custom global app, not an extension or a customization of ITSM or something, right? Yeah, I've heard that request a couple times during this conference, so I think it's something we'll take a look at and see if we can figure out how to do. Any other questions? Up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, this is a feature Nikhil was harassing me about. I didn't quite make the cut for London. We do have the ability for a delegated developer to publish to an update set, but that's as far as they can take it right now. I do have some stories for M&M that I'm looking at to try to enable update set management for delegated developers, but not right away. You told me that would come up. That's funny.
We just had quite a long discussion on that a few months back, and just we are it's on our roadmap, and we are trying our best to address it. Yeah. I hear it.
Any other questions? Over here?
One of the slides, you had the symbol as the variable. How do you get the variable passed into that symbol?
On the REST service?
That's just
This
the
may not be related to the topic, but I'm just.
yeah. That's just the REST outbound message here. Let me switch back.
Thank you. Any other questions while we're pulling that up? No more questions?
For us non-admins, I'm real excited to see this because we've never had the administrative rights. We're chomping at the bit. I want to do this, I can do that. I don't have to be an admin. Just let me go just a couple more steps up. Would this also apply to the existing modules in ServiceNow platforms such as knowledge base, such as the knowledge base managers or incident managers? Could they have some of these admin rights be delegated to so that we can improve?
As long as it's inside a scoped app, I don't believe those modules lead to, I think all those are in the global scope, so they wouldn't be able to sub that out.
What's a scoped app?
A scoped app is a custom application that is built by you generally or on your instance. So
I thought that was remote, that we're not supposed to customize, we're supposed to use, out of the box.
there's two different things. There's two different things there. So when people are telling you don't customize, use out of the box, we're talking about the stuff that ServiceNow ships you. Right, so you want to try to stay as close to out of the box as you can to help make your upgrades, but smoother and et cetera. But when you're creating, we're not going to ship you the solution to your HR's custom, t-shirt size importing app. Right, you're going to want to build that from scratch. When you go to build that from scratch, you want to build a custom application in a scoped app. So all of that is yours, and then that is what you can delegate out. Did that answer your question? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I was just making sure the word between configuration and customization. There's one way we're supposed to use it out of the box, and we can use the options. There might be 25 options you can click on, off, that ServiceNow allows us to do. But if you don't even touch those, then you haven't customized to your own company.
Right. Yeah. So
That's allowable. If the options are already there, you want us to be able to, I don't want to use the word customize, so that was the bad word.
no, customize is fine. Yep. I mean, it depends on the app. Some apps have configurations where you need to set up, I would say, groups is a configuration. We're not going to ship you groups. You're configuring the system to user groups, and then system properties where you're setting Boolean fields. That's a configuration, right? You're setting those things. But if you were to go to a business rule on the incident table and customize some script in there, now you've customized something, but it's something that we shipped you. Right, so now you've customized something that ServiceNow owns, but you've customized. So that's where you start having the problems down the road. If you're not careful, you have to manage those on your skip list on your upgrade. You have to make sure that it doesn't, you're not breaking compatibility with other stuff that also has to be upgraded. So that's in the context of please, avoid customizations. But when you're building stuff from scratch for new solutions for whatever you might be building, create a new scoped app and put your new tables inside of there. Put your new business rules for those tables inside of the scoped app. That's custom application development. Is that a better answer?
Yeah, coming back to your This is just the outbound REST message that we have here. So this is a way how you can specify a dynamic variable in the REST path here, and here you can add, if you have multiple of them, you can add. Here
Variable.
symbol was the only one, and I just added a test value saying FB. I can change it to Apple.
Cool. Any other questions?
Yeah, this should be in the documentation. Let us know if you don't find it.
Anything else? All right. Thanks for coming. We'll give you 10 extra minutes of your day back, and I hope you're having a great con.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.